In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about working in 3D. So this will be our first introduction to three-dimensional drawing in AutoCAD. I've already opened the software, and now what I'm going to do is generate a new file. If I go to the menu browser and I click on New, I have a number of templates to choose from. Now, depending on how you're intending to work, you can either begin with a three-dimensional preset template, or you can use one of the other ones. Often in 2D work, we'll start with this AutoCAD DWT file. If I start with an AutoCAD 3D file, I'll see a screen that looks something like this. And what you'll notice that's different about this type of template as opposed to the 2D one is that we're set up to work in 3D. We have our third axis, which is the z-axis. So the x and the y are there as you're used to seeing in 2D, but you also have this third axis to work with. Now, depending on how you're going to start your file, you may choose to use the 3D template, or you may choose to use the 2D template. If you're going to start from a floor plan, it may be wise to begin with a 2D AutoCAD drawing. So I'm going to close this file, and I am going to show you how you might begin in that sense. So I go to New, and I start an AutoCAD template file, and this screen should look very familiar to you if you've worked in 2D. So here I have just the X and the Y axis. I am looking at my screen as if I'm above, looking down on it. Okay, and you might find too, if you've just started the program, that you are in drafting and annotation workspace. To work in 3D, you want to set this to 3D modeling. So you can go ahead and do that. Now, some things that might be different in 3D modeling, the ribbon should look entirely different. You'll have a different set of tools. These tools are designed for 3D modeling. So what I'll start off with is making a box. This is one of the simplest primitive tools. The other primitives are cylinder, cone, sphere, pyramid, wedge, and torus. But we'll begin with the box. When you input the parameters for a box, it will ask for 2 points. My first point will be 0, 0, 0, and my second one will be 2, 4, 6. So I've just given 2 corners of my box form. Okay, so it's as if we're looking at it from above, and if I want to view it from other positions, like let's say I want to look at it as if I'm down here looking up, I would go to my View tab, and I would select Front. Right? So what it's done is it's repositioned my view so that I'm looking at it from the front side. And one thing you'll notice is that it has changed the X and Y positioning. So let's go back to the top view. This is the one you're used to seeing in 2D. X and Y are positioned where X is horizontal and Y is vertical. If I am to go to one of the isometric views, so these are more three-dimensional views, I'll go to Southwest Isometric, and I'll zoom out a little bit. So what you can see is that the UCS has not changed its position. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and this is the z-axis. Okay. But now if I go to one of the other presets, like the front one, like I was just at, what's going to happen is the UCS icon is going to rotate. The X will run in this direction as it is right now, but the Y will be vertical. So let's go to Front. Right. So as you can see, the X is horizontal and now the Y is vertical. And you'll find that this is useful for constructing objects and working with the model, that it is reconfiguring itself. But you just have to be a little bit careful in knowing where you are. Now if I go to my Southwest view from this view, what I see is that, again, this has not changed. If you remember previously, I was in top view, and then I went to Southwest Isometric, X was horizontal in this direction, Y was horizontal in this direction, and it was the Z axis that was vertical. But because the last view that I was just looking at was the front view, it has maintained that positioning. All right, now there is something called world coordinate system. That's fixed and never changes. If I want to reset that from whatever current position the UCS has, I type in UCS and I go with the world option. And as you can see, it's set it to this non-changing setting where X is in this direction, Y is in this direction, and Z is in this direction. So you can play around with this a little bit until you feel a little bit more comfortable working with the X, Y, Z coordinate systems. But again, these are presets that will reset certain settings. Other things you might want to explore, this right here will allow you to kind of rotate around the object. So when I click on this orbit tool, and I'm holding down my left mouse button and I'm moving around the object. Okay, that's a useful tool. And then you can always go back to these presets. Zoom out a bit. Other things that you can explore as you are becoming more familiar with 3D modeling. Currently, this view style, this visual style is 2D wireframe, but if you want to get a more realistic sense of how this might look, you might change some of these settings. So there's conceptual, and there's a number of others that you could experiment with. And here I am again orbiting around the object. So you'll find you use a number of tools in which to navigate the 3D modeling environment.